Hello YouTube, this is Brian Tubbs coming at you with another video. Today I'm going to be just kind of talking about my fixture table. It's been about a year, so I just wanted to kind of give you guys a kind of an update on my thoughts and feelings about this table back here. It's the Prime Weld table. But first I just want to just show you guys our latest creation. This is my basically my son's piece. He and I made it together, and I'm having to sit down because it's about 5 feet tall, and I didn't want to be towering over it because the camera can't get me and it at the same time. So I'm just kind of sitting here. But it's kind of like I said, like kind of an Asian piece. This is core 10. It started out as 2D. Like he was thinking about using just one piece like this, one piece like this, and then kind of making this and having this set on top of just the two little small pieces. But I've been doing this for so long, I knew that wasn't gonna work. It wouldn't hold up because you would have this whole headpiece resting on just two flat pieces like this, these two little pieces. So I came up with the idea of making them 3D, and I'll spin it around just so you can kind of see. So this is a 3D piece. So now it has a front side, back side, left side, right side on both pieces. So I just gave it some girth because I know it shows people are going to come up to it and want to touch it and do all the other stuff that they normally do. And I knew that if this piece was just setting on the tips of these two little small pieces, eventually with all the people coming around grabbing it, those welds would break eventually. So what I did was we put together 4 sides on both of these, and I had him weld everything up. He used a MIG welder, and we left the welds just to give it some depth, I guess, and dimension, just to do something different. We didn't grind it smooth and all that kind of stuff. So we did that, and then I made a little bracket to go here that everything rests on. It's I think it's about a 1/4 inch steel plate, and I just kind of cut it and rounded it off on the edges so it'll be smooth, just to set this on. And then we have a pipe down here, and then one of our round discs on the bottom. So all of this is core 10 mild steel. Core 10. This is a timing belt gear, and then this is 304 stainless steel. I think this piece and this piece is right about 1/8 of an inch thick, somewhere in there. They're both 11 gauge steel. And so, like I said, we haven't given it a name yet, but this is just kind of how ideas come. These pieces were leftover pieces from some of my sculptures, some of the big ones. So when I cut the sculptures, whatever's left, I'll just kind of throw into like a basket. The big stuff that the cuts are not, worth anything really. I just take those to the recyclers and get money for those pieces. But smaller stuff like this, these sides here, I'll use that or leave them here for him. He'll come through, my wife will come through and lay stuff out on the floor, kick it around with their feet and kind of come up with some ideas. So my son and my wife came up with this portion for the most part, but this was really rough. It didn't look quite like this. It had the shape, but it was really rough. A lot of jagged edges and whatnot from when I was plasma cutting it, both pieces. So I just took my grinding disc, my flat discs, and just smoothed it out. Took my plasma cutter cut really high, areas that were really high and out of whack. I cut those out and just kind of grinded everything smooth. And then on these pieces were from, I'm making a leaf. I'll put a picture up of the leaf so you guys can see it. You've seen the leaves that we make. They're about 6 feet 2 inches tall. But we got a commission from a city in Florida to make two bigs. So we made that leaf that it looks similar to the other one, but it's like 7 feet 5 or 7 feet 6 inches tall. So it's a lot taller. So at the top of the leaf's base, that base tapers on leaf. It goes from wide to it tapers on top. So these side pieces were the remaining pieces from the metal that we cut out for leaf. And then on the back here, this is just mild steel, probably eighth inch mild steel on the back and front, or inside, however you want to say it. And that's how we kind of came up with this stuff. But I mean, when you guys are, trying to put ideas together, just take metal like this, put it on the ground, and just move it around with your hands or your feet until you get into a position that you like, and you say, okay, I can make something with that. And then you just you grind it, smooth it down, whatever you're gonna do, start tacking it up, and then just start welding together. And I'm sure this piece is going to sell. People love this stuff for like their gardens, spots around their house, and that kind of thing. So I know it's gonna sell. And like, I'll put a picture up of he called it Two Suns. It's like a Star Wars piece. This piece, we sell a ton of these things. And it stands about the same height as this one, maybe an inch or so taller, somewhere in there. But we sell a lot of those. I know we're gonna sell quite a few of these. We gotta come up with some more gear. It's probably come up with something a little bit different on the inside this time. But yeah, guys, that's how we just kind of throw stuff together, and it turns out like this. It's just art. And what I did was I had, I think, 3 sides that were this width on the bottom. I didn't have 4 sides. And then on this size, which is narrower down here than this one, I think I had 3 pieces. So what I did, as opposed to going with both sides the same, I just went with a larger side here and a narrower side on this point, and just gives it something different. It's just different. It's not what people would think of when they see something like this. And with this, this piece is wider than this piece, and it just kind of plays off of this. One's thicker, one's narrower, thicker. Just kind of things like that, just to give a piece interest. So what we're gonna do now, man, is guys, is just so what we're gonna do now is turn to the table, and I just kind of give you guys my thoughts on this table after 1 year. All right, guys. So just kind of give you my thoughts on this Prime Weld table. It's been a year, just a little bit over a year, probably about a year and a month. And I really like the table. I have no complaints about it. It's held up well. It's sturdy. My pieces have not came out as straight in the past as they do now using this table. Before, I used to have, even when I wanted my pieces really straight, they would have a slight twist to them in a lot of cases, because I would be using, the Harbor Freight style tables, and they, when you try to clamp something down, the table would kind of flex and all that kind of stuff. But when using this guy, there's no flex to it at all. If I have a flex in one of my pieces, I'll just clamp it down to the table, and then make my final welds, and it'll straighten itself back out because of all the force that I'm able to apply to it with this table. These clamps that I made, I showed you guys how to make them. I'll put a thumbnail up of the video where I show you guys how to make these clamps and these clamps. But using these clamps, using these clamps, I got one pair from Harbor Freight and the other pair from Menards. This pair is from Menards. It's called a Tool Shop, and of course the ones from Harbor Freight are Pittsburgh. Now these used to have this large nut on the bottom, if you can see that. Let me get a little bit closer so you guys can see what it is I'm talking about. Now these clamps had this nut on the bottom because these clamps are made for a drill press for the most part. So you stick this portion through the drill press, and then this will screw on underneath the drill press. You can hold your piece in place when you're running, your drill bit through that piece. But what I did, as opposed to cutting the threads off that comes off of this, it has threads underneath this pipe, if you will, to thread this on. But I took this pipe, it's a 5/16 pipe, if you will, piece of pipe, cut it, slid it on here, and then welded it underneath here. So this will fit into the table holes, perfectly. Before I did this, and I had the threads exposed, I used to have to put this on the table, and then go underneath the table and thread this on to this clamp in order for this clamp to hold to the table. But I said that's too much work, and the ones that they sell, online, they have something similar to this where you can just stick into the table and it locks in place. So I went ahead and just came up with my own idea to make it. So all I do now is just stick it down into the table, clamp it down, and it's ready to go. I used to have to go under the table with this nut and find the threads and thread this thing on. And then there was time to move the piece. I would have to go under there, take this off, move the clamp over, go back under, do it again. That didn't last but a couple of days. I said that's too much work. And so with me making these things like this, and these the same way, and this, you just stick them to the table, and when you start cranking them down, they lock themselves into position. They won't move. And now the side clamps, if I have a piece here, I will have one of these guys in place here, locked down. I have my metal wall coming up here, and I can take these and lock it to that wall so that wall will stay, vertical. Then I can do all my welding and tacking and whatnot with that. So I had heard over the years how much fixture tables could help you, with your projects. And now that I have one and have had it for a year, they're absolutely right. I mean, because of my Harbor Freight tables, it was really frustrating trying to use those things when you're doing the kind of stuff that that we do, making large sculptures and whatnot that we do. It was very frustrating using it, but I didn't want to pay $5,000 or $6,000 for a table, and so I did some research and I was watching some YouTube videos, and this guy came up and started talking about this table. So I went and checked it out, and each of these tables are $899. It's 3 feet by 2 feet. So I said, well, 2 feet by 3 feet is not going to be enough, so I'll buy 2. So now I'm at 6 feet by 2. which is good enough for what I do. And so with the two tables, it's enough for me, because if I'm making a 9-foot sculpture, I can just do the 6 foot portion, slide it, you know, one way or the other, weld the other piece on, and keep going from there. Or I can buy an extension to extend this table out, or just buy another table. I mean, like I said, they're $899 or $900. So I bought 2. That's $1,800. If I buy 3, that's what, $2,700, something like that. Even at buying 3 of these tables, I'm still paying less than I would for like a, I think it's called Sigmund table. This place out in Texas Tables, I think they call it that. A lot of different companies make these really big tables, you know, 6,000, 10,000. I don't need that, because if I want to move my tables around, I can just get my car jack it up, put some cashers under it, and just roll it, move it around. I don't want anything that I can't move. And so these tables, I think they weigh about 170 or something like that, 180 a piece, something like that. And then to put them together, they have a screw down system. I'll put a picture up of that, of their screw down system. They just run right along the seam. One portion goes in through the holes under there, and then another one attaches to that, and then you just secure them, and they line up perfectly. So after a year, I haven't had any problem at all. I thought for a minute that the table was slightly bowed, because when I would make a pedestal for one of the pieces, it would rock. Everyone would rock. From this point to that point, it would kind of rock a little bit. So I thought there was a bow in the table. But then I got my straight edge, laid it across there, this direction, that direction, this direction, all directions, and it was perfectly flat. As perfect as you're gonna get for $900. And I figured out it wasn't the table. It was when I was putting the pedestals together and they tapered up. When I would start out with a wall here, tack those up, rotate it over here, put my next wall up. And when I did that, I would oftentimes pull the bottom of this wall up off the table a little bit when I'm clamping it together. But I wouldn't notice that. Then I would, spin it and put the 4th wall up. But by that time, the bottom edge of the wall that was here is kind of raised up. That's why I was getting that kind of like that, like a slight wobble. I mean, you're talking about 1/8 of an inch or something like that. But like I said, I thought the table had a little bow in it. But then I stopped putting so much stress on the top of the pedestals, whether it's a pedestal to set a piece on, or a pedestal that's a part of a 1-piece or 2-piece sculpture. I stopped putting so much stress up top, and the pieces come out, level and flat and all that kind of stuff now. So that was the only issue that I thought I had with this table, was I thought there was a slight bow in the table. So to test my theory, I put the pedestals on this table on the other side, did the same things, and after I was finished, still had that slight little high spot. So I said, no, it can't be the table. The tables are flat. So it was my technique that was causing it. So, I mean, I use these guys. I'll use these little pins, throw on the table, put the pin in. Then I'll take my bolt, my homemade bolt kit, slide it through the hole. And with this, I'll go under the table still, because it's not that big of a deal. And this is locked in place, just like that. So my walls of my pieces are vertical. Before they might be kind of angled one way or the other, because I just didn't have the tools that I needed, to make the pieces work properly. But with this being, vertical, and using my side stops and these stops and all the other stuff I have, the table works out really, really well. So would I recommend the Prime Weld 2x3 table? Absolutely. Without doubt, I'll recommend this table. And again, you may not need 2 tables. You may start out with 1 table for $8.99, plus tax, free shipping. You don't have to worry about that. And you'll have yourself a really, really solid table. So that's my 2 cents on this table. And if I decided I need another table, because I'm gonna make we're in the process now of talking to a city here in Michigan. They want a large sculpture, so I might have to go ahead and get a 3rd table, probably. We just finished up with 2 pieces. I'll put it's a picture up. This first one we call flags, but it's not the standard flags. The standard flags has a 4x4 or 6x6, post coming up off of a base. Then we run the flags up. But with this one, it has 6 sides to it, so it's much wider and much taller than our standard flags. And then up top we have 5 of the flags as opposed to 4, because we interlock them. Because where it's going in Florida, they get some pretty high winds, so we have to make sure that the flags are not moving around too much. So we lock them in, so there is some movement, but it's a lot less movement than our standard flags. And this piece is about 8 feet tall, somewhere in there. And then this next picture is the leaf. It, like I said earlier, it's based on the leaf, the smaller leaf that we make. The smaller one, our normal smaller leaf is about 6 feet, 6'2". This one is about 7'5" or 7'6", something like that. It's much wider. The base is much wider, much heavier, all that, because it's going to Florida, and it has to be able to withstand all the winds and all the other stuff that's there. It's like I said, much heavier, because we used a heavier gauge metal. And then like on the flags, we normally use 304 stainless, but since this one's going to Florida, we use 316, which is marine grade, because there's a lot of salt in the air and all that kind of stuff in Florida. So we didn't want to use, 304 would stand up, but you really have to passivate it and do all the other stuff. And then there's some praying involved, that salt is just not too intense for it and causes it to start, corroding and whatnot. And so we go with the 316, and then we passivate the 316, and we put our machine on it, on all the welds, just to make sure, nothing will start, corroding. And then on the inside walls, and on the inside of the octagon, we use Flex Seal, that rubber coating. We use that on the inside walls to keep any moisture from getting between the weld, and the atmosphere, if you will. Even though it's enclosed in that octagon, you still can get moisture in there. And so we just did some extra things just to be as a precaution, because this is not like going 30 miles from here to go make a repair or something. That's a day and a half drive getting to where that piece is going to be, or an airplane flight. And I'm certainly not wanting to have to fly to Florida to, you know, get rust off of a piece that we sent. So, and even on a leaf, we usually use 304 stainless on the top of the leaf with those vines and veins. But on this leaf, we use 316 rod, stainless rod. So we're just being as careful and cautious and trying to prepare ahead as much as we can, because like I said, I do not want to have to drive to Florida to make a repair. Well, all right, guys, that's going to do it for this video. And like I said earlier, I would 100% absolutely recommend this table. I mean, if you're doing some really big major stuff, you know, big projects or whatever, you might want to look at something else maybe, I don't know. But for what I do, and you know what I think you guys will be doing as far as just making sculptures and whatnot, it's an excellent table. Well, guys, I'll hope to see you on the next one. I think my next video I'll probably be doing a review on, not a review, but just kind of showing you guys what I make, what I use as far as my tools, my welders, that kind of thing. Just kind of give you guys an idea of what I use. My stuff is not overly expensive. Some of it is not anyway. But you don't have to use the most expensive stuff. You just need to use some good stuff that's going to last you. All right, guys, so hopefully see you on the next one. And as usual, peace out.